Hello and welcome. So we are going to talk today about communication and the menopause brain and what's actually going on with our communication skills and how we communicate when those menopausal hormones start getting in the way. So let me share my screen. I'm going to do it a little bit different this week because that's going to go to the wrong bit of my screen. I want this to come on. I'm going to leave my presentation like that because when I keep moving it, for some reason, the screen moves on my side, but not on your side. So we'll leave it as is, won't we? So I said, hello, welcome. What we're going to expect from today. So we're going to talk about what's actually going on during menopause and how these hormonal shifts, because we know that perimenopause on into menopause is when your hormones start to disappear off, they wane, they get less, and what that does to how we can communicate with others. So how it affects our cognitive abilities and how that cognitive functional or dysfunction then affects our interpersonal skills and connections. So, who am I? My name is Tracy Montgomery. I am your menopause strategist. I talk about all things menopause, midlife, and all the crap that goes with it. And sometimes I don't just do the sciencey bit, I do the other bits as well. Actually, I don't go into too much depth on the sciencey side. I'd rather talk about you and what you're going to do and what do I know about menopause myself. So I went through menopause, or I'm in menopause, perimenopause. Often get a bit confused, don't we? Because there's premenopause, that's the bit before. Perimenopause. So the perimenopause is a bit when the hormones are going all over the place and they're starting to drop off. And you're having all the symptoms that are going to start. So that's when you get the hot flashes, the brain fog that we're going to talk a little bit about. And that can last. That can start. And how severe it is. So you see, the whole menopause thing is, yeah, exactly. It's so unique to all of us. In my own experience, I noticed, I should say, that I was having perimenopause symptoms when I was in my mid-50s. So by the time I actually got to a gynecologist, I had one horrendous weekend. By the time I got to a gynecologist, the gynecologist said to me, literally as I walked through the door, "You're a little bit old for this, aren't you?" Now that was a little bit, so I am a freak then. That's a bit weird. But my doctors, they have a menopause nurse. She's fab. She's great because I have HRT. I don't think I'd function without it, to be perfectly honest. And I was discussing this with her and saying about age, and she was like, can happen. Realistically, at any point, I mean, the perimenopause normally starts early, mid-40s. Average age for going into postmenopause, 51, 52. So yeah, okay, I was a little bit older, but that's average, isn't it? So to have an average, you've got to have a range either side. So what's going on with our communication during menopause? And what's happening to our menopause brain to cause discrepancies, difficulties with our communication skills? So we get all these symptoms, the hot flashes, the mood swings, but because our brain has relied on these hormones for so long, our cognitive function during perimenopause, this brain fog episodes are because our brain has got used to the hormones being there, and then they start to wane. So your brain gets used to having so many hormones hanging around, if you like. And as they start to wane, our brain misses those hormonal signals, and therefore you get this cognitive dysfunction, if you like. So sometimes you can't communicate as well. So you miss names. Names is a normal one. And you can have like fuzzy head when you're thinking about things. You forget the keys, you put the milk in the dishwasher, you find your glasses on your head when you're looking at them. You know, the normal thing, you know, when you're talking on your phone, trying to find your phone. So this is because your brain has got used to a certain level of hormones, and that hormone level during perimenopause is starting to change, gets slightly different. So your brain gets a little bit confused. So hormones are picked up by receptor cells within glands all over your body. And these start sending signals. And these signals are met by your neurotransmitters in the brain. And then these neurotransmitters can't fire properly. They sort of malfunction. So then you like miss the signal. So your body gets confused. And that's when you can start to have the mood swings. Because remember, our hormones really do affect our moods. They affect our personality. The way that you want to talk about yourself, the way that you want to hold yourself. And these can put strains on all of the relationships around you because you can't express yourself, you can't communicate in the same manner that you did previously. So what we also need to remember at this time is because it's things that are going on in our head and we're getting on, it can be quite a scary time because we think that other things might be happening and it's not just because of hormones. And obviously we think of one thing before we think of another. That's how our brains work. So now we know what's causing it. Basically, hormones drop off, brain thinks they're going to be there, they're missing things. So misfiring of information, which means that you don't present as you used to. So what can you do to improve your communication? There are lots of things that we can do. And this is a continually story that you will hear as you start to age. Things like stopping and listening. Okay, easy to say, but listening at any age is a good thing to do to help improve your communication, isn't it? Being assertive, but maintaining your temperament as well, because we can have these mood swings that can come on quite quickly at this age. But we want to make sure that we're communicating this to those around us. And we have to remember that even though menopause is talked about a lot more now, menopause is still menopause. For some, it can be quite traumatic. So we need to remember that there's only so much information our brains can take at one time, and we do need to calm it. So mindfulness techniques, things like meditation and deep breathing, can give the brain time to relax and catch up. So how can we communicate better? We can think about being prepared. Any of you that have been in the Scouts or the Guides, be prepared. So if you're going to be like this, I'm having a conversation with you. I've got my prompts. These are my prompts, these cards here, aren't they, on my slides. And I've chosen to put them like this because every time I go to record this, it looks fine on my side when I go into presenter mode, but on your side, it sticks on one slide for some reason. I don't know. Make sure that if you can, You can have your meetings, you can have your conversations at a time when you're feeling mentally together. Now, that doesn't always work. So this time that we're at now is a time that is convenient to more than one person. It's not necessarily the best time for you and the best time for me because I've had a full day before getting here. You may be the other end, you may be in the morning, you may be having a different time scale to mine. So sometimes that's not the easiest for us to follow, is it? And we have to make the best of what we can. But if we prepare with these sort of notes, it can help us. And you can tell I'm talking to you and I'm still getting lost some of the time. I'm saying that's part of a brain fog, isn't it? That's part of our mental clarity when our cognitive function gets a little bit confused. Now, we can, though, help ourselves with how we communicate. So, storytelling and preambles can get a little bit confusing, can't they? So, if we try and keep things quite concise and get to the point quite quickly, our brain can then deliver what we need to deliver. If we are getting confused and we need things repeated, ask. And if we're getting overwhelmed by the information that's coming in, break it down into easily to manage steps. But what we also need to remember is to be patient. This is a time of big change for the majority of us. Even those who say, oh, I wasn't affected by the menopause. They're in the menopause then. They have been affected. And there are other things that we talk about throughout this that affect menopause. So to make sure that things, I keep saying things now, don't I? Working better for our mental health. Think about all things that make us healthy. And this doesn't matter what age we are, that we are told about certain aspects that help us improve our health at any life stage. But in particular, sleep. Sleep is a huge one, isn't it? And we do live a busy life now. And we do live a life where it can be frowned upon to sleep a lot. But we do need sleep. We need that downtime. Our bodies need that downtime. Our brains need that downtime so that we are much more refreshed the next day. We need to make sure that we're moving. Modern world, modern life is quite sedentary. So we need to make sure that we're moving. We need to make sure that we're doing exercise, but we need to make sure that we relax as well, so that we're not rushing absolutely everywhere. And to be able to do all of that, we need to maintain and manage our diet. Now, we've talked about previously that a recommended diet for menopause is the Mediterranean diet. So if you can, try and reduce your processed foods, increase the amount of water that you drink, increase the green things. Healthy fats, reduce the alcohol, reduce the caffeine as much as we can, but remember we all love a nice cup of coffee. So, what else do we have to think about at this life stage that could have been affected by our relationships, our communication? We want to think about where we're going to be in the future. And one of the things that we need to remember is, as we're going into perimenopause and on into postmenopause, our future is getting less. There's no doubt about it. So that in itself can cause us a little bit of stress. So what we need to do is start planning, plan our life ahead, plan where we want to be, plan our retirement, and make sure that our finances are as stable as we can possibly make them. Because that, if our finances are stable, our stress is reduced to improve that overall well-being, and it gives us a lot more variety, doesn't it? So, what do we need to do to be able to do this future casting? Because of the change that can happen, I mean, it's called the change, isn't it? This perimenopause, it's the perimenopause bit, it's often calls the change. And what has been well documented is that there is a huge increase in the number of women who are finding themselves alone post 50. In some countries, there is evidence of these women being financially disadvantaged due to this. So as a female, it's something that you need to think about. Now, bear in mind that women do an awful lot of the caring jobs. They do an awful lot of our retail jobs. That's women. And those jobs can be quite stressful. And some women find it quite difficult to maintain that during perimenopause, because we can struggle with fatigue, we can struggle with what we're thinking to do. So it can make our actual career choices slightly difficult. And we can also have, now this isn't just what's happening to you, but your family dynamics can change. So your family relationships, your close family relationships, your personal relationship with a partner, they can change due to the age increase, due to perimenopause. But also, you could have, and it normally is put on the female members of the family, additional caring needs within your family, be it for older relatives or younger relatives. So that can have an impact on your financial abilities. So we can look at future proofing. Now, yeah, that might sound selfish that you're going to look at just your finances, but it might be necessary. And it might be that the ability to take on another job is not the best way forward because you're fatigued. You haven't got all those hours because you're caring for somebody else additionally, and that could be unpaid for caring. So that in itself can impact your financial future. There are alternative options to getting a job. I know that our age group, it's work hard, to earn more. But if you're working for somebody, it's a finite amount normally, isn't it? You work for a set wage, for a set amount per hour. You get well, some people get an annual pay rise, can happen. So you may want to look at alternative ways that you can improve your finances without impacting too heavily on the amount of hours you've got available in your day. And they can be quite diverse, but they can lead to bigger opportunities for you. So things like e-commerce, an Etsy store, that sort of thing, digital products, travel clubs, I'm going to say it, those stocks and those funny coins. It is possible for somebody our age to get into those. So if you'd like some advice or talk to me about those, scan the QR code. I've made it quite pretty. And we can book to have a call and we can talk about different opportunities that can help you and secure your future. It's been lovely talking to you. My name is Tracy Montgomery. I will talk to you again. Oh, let me stop sharing first. There we go. I forget that bit now. See, brain does those sort of things. So I will talk to you shortly. Look into the group. Wait for the invite for next week's circle calling. And have a good weekend. Talk to you soon. Bye for now.